If it's one thing I learned from experience media is that you need to open yourself up for new experiences. Sure, it feels good to be in your comfort zone, but you should also go out of the way and try new things. Because if you don't, you're gonna miss out on a lot of medias that could potentially become some of your new favorites. Visual novels were sort of like that for me. For years I joked and mocked them for, well, not being games, proper games, but rather books with PNGs and music. That was of course years ago, and now I like visual novels. I think they can offer great experiences, especially when it comes to the story, characters, music. Of course, gameplay speaking, none of them is gonna win you over, but that's not really the focus of visual novels. And today I'll be talking about a visual novel I've been wanting to play for a very long time now, Valhalla. A visual novel that takes place in a cyberpunk setting where you play as a bartender, mixing drinks and changing lives. I've been meaning to play this for a while, but I just never did because, I don't know, I have a lot on my backlog. But don't you worry, Yeek, your time will come soon. So without further ado, let's get right into the game. The game opens up with telling us a bit about the city and its state, being some sort of a mess with a lot of criminal activities and happening in the future. However, on the not so very nice part of the city, there is a little bar called Valhalla, which is where our main lead is working at. And then we get to the title screen and man, it is really nice. I really like the use of colors and the music is really cool too. It's already giving off good first impressions. And getting past the title screen, we are in the bar of Valhalla. A girl shows up and starts talking through the TV. By clicking on her, she gets out and stands in front of us. She starts to talk about some stuff, but she's very glitchy until it goes black and, well, it was all a dream, so it wasn't really real. After that incident, we get back to the bar and get greeted by a person named Gil. The character played as is Jill Stingray, just your average 27-year-old woman who just want to get through life. After a small but neat tutorial on how to mix drinks, we are ready to finally play the game. So the point of the game is to serve drinks to customers. Now most of the game is just you reading the dialogue and talking to customers, but in between that, when they order something, you will enter this mini game. Holy fuck, gameplay in my visual novel? Nah. I'm sorry, I just came here for reading and no gameplay. But seriously, it is a mini game you can play where you can mix drinks for your customers. Some drinks use different types of liquids, some have ice in them and some are aged. Luckily, when making the drinks, the recipe is written so you can see how it's made. When a customer orders a drink, you have to make sure they're making the right one and following the dialogue, because sometimes Jill will faint out and forget what they ordered. While a lot of customers will say exactly what they want, some will try to be a bit vague. For example, one customer will go and be like, yeah, I'll take a sugar rush and you know what to make. And then another one will be, give me the drink that match my dark souls I made. On top of that, with Jill being very easy distracted and forgetting what they said, so you have to be very careful and read what they ordered, or else you will get it wrong and you won't get the extra bonus. And she forgets a lot of times. I actually do like the reasoning for why she doesn't want to ask again the customer what they really wanted, because then she will seem less professional, which actually makes sense. You also get a lot of Jill's riveting thoughts, like laughing at the name of a drink. So your main goal in this game is not only to serve customers, but to earn money. By doing the orders perfectly, you earn extra money. At the end of each shift, you get a certain amount of money you can either save or use. The only thing is that you will get a bill you have to pay during each chapter, so be careful not to spend all of it. You can buy some things from the store like posters or figures or other stuff. At first I didn't really understand what the point of this was, because usually in games like this, when you buy some stuff, you can at least see display in your apartment, right? You collect stuff you can see displayed, but here you don't. At first I didn't really think they added much at all, but then I actually saw that they do add something, it's just not really the apartment. You can buy music CDs to play tracks at the bar, buy non-alcoholic drinks to bring to the bar to serve customers, or, buying other stuff that will make Jill more happy. And I tell you, some of these music CDs are fucking awesome, so you do want to collect them. So with you working as a bartender, you will meet many different type of customers. And because of that, I had come up with a completely original idea that nobody has ever done before. A tier list ranking all the characters in the game. So I'm going to rank all the characters in this game as I talk throughout the video. Speaking of characters, let's start with our main character Jill. Jill is pretty chill and very polite in front of customers. Despite her not showing a lot of emotions in front of some of her friends and colleagues, she does deeply care about them. She was very close to her grandpa, father and uncle, but not much else in the family, which I also really can relate to. Jill also has a lot of knowledge on alcohol and drinks they serve at the bar. She can be rude at times, especially towards someone like Gil.
What are you, fucking stupid? Huh?
But she does care about him, and come on, I mean, who has not been mean to her friends, right? At least the colleagues, yeah. You kind of start to get a bit mean to them, but you still like them, right? I think she's a really fantastic main character, and one that I can relate in so many ways. Jill is without doubt an S-tier character. Next one up we have Gil, Jill's co-worker, and Jill is a very interesting character, because we don't really know much about him. Even throughout the end of the game, there's a lot of things we don't really know about him, especially like in his past and stuff like that. Even Jill and her boss know so little about him. Gil likes to keep a lot of his life private, as he rarely shares anything about it. What we do know is that he's both a responsible and reliable person. He's a bit of a goofball, but he means well. He just has a past that he's not really super proud of and would like to keep a secret, which I understand. But he is a generally really awesome character, and for me, I think he's an A-tier character. Next one we have Donna Lane, who is the boss around the Valhalla bar. she's a very chill and has a, and I'm quoting the Valhalla wiki page, Donna is extremely boisterous and has a carefree, devil-may-care attitude. Oh, for fuck's sake. Donna is not only Jill's boss, but also one of her best friends. I mean, Jill even has her home screen of her and Donna, and even has a post at home with Best Boss. They sometimes hang out and drink together and share stories of themselves, with Donna having done a lot of stuff throughout her life, including being a MMA fighter and doing wrestling and fighting bears. She's also a bit of a goofball too, always getting stuck in things like a helmet getting stuck on her head, but she's also a very caring person, tries to help others when she can. She's very tough on the outside and pretty sweet on the inside. Honestly, I think she's my favorite character in this game. She also has a robot arm, and that's fucking cool, so definitely Esther, she's amazing. Dorothy is another interesting one, being not a human but rather a robot whose job is having sex with others. Someone with that kind of job would probably have been somewhat depressed or tired, but no, she's as happy as ever. She's always in a good mood and looks at Jill as one of her closest friends. She can be a bit too honest at times, but she means well. But despite that, she also has some serious moments where she thinks about how it would be if she was a human, and how she can't grasp all the consequences such as death, and how that scares her. I really love Dorothy. She's one of my favorite characters. Again, an S-tier. I know I've put a lot of characters in S-tier, but I don't care. These characters are amazing. I really love Sei, dude, and I'm not saying that just because she looks a lot like Fuka from Persona 3. Sei works in the police force, with the streets of city being as dangerous as it is, like I said in the intro. She is often out on a patrol. I don't know what it was, but when she entered the bar and took off her helmet, I got this feeling of comfort. I could tell that she was going to be a very nice and sweet person, and someone I could trust. Sei is also friends with another character who I'm very sure are hardcore lesbians. Even if they don't want to admit it, I'm pretty sure they are. I also really feel bad for Sei, because later on she gets stuck in a bank for days. Her friend even tells us how even after the accident she hasn't gotten over it. I mean, it's traumatizing being stuck for days without food and water. But being as strong as she is, she managed to get out and help the people there. I really love Sei. She's possibly the nicest character in the game, and she's always so fun and interesting to listen to. And for that, I move her to Esther. She is fantastic. Stella was someone I expect to be completely different, but no, she's actually much more different and much more awesome than that. She's essentially a rich girl with a heart of gold. Her best friend is also Sei, who, again, I'm pretty sure they're hardcore lesbians, but the game doesn't tell us, but I think there are. Stella is also surprisingly pretty smart, knowing a lot about companies and politics too, but she's also a very fun character. She even holds a Christmas party every year and gives the gifts to the children of the employees of her father's company and dresses up as Santa. It's really adorable. I think that's so cool. So I'm gonna put her S tier too. She's another amazing character I always enjoy talking to. Betty and Deal are very interesting because they almost always come together at the bar, both working for a company that is actually run by dogs. Betty loves to drink and Deal is there to make sure she doesn't drink too much or mess up. Betty is a bit grumpy, but not in an annoying or rude way. She's just kind of rude to Deal, but they have known each other for so long that they're used to it. Deal, however, is much more calm and just chill. Deal is more calm and just chill. He is the more responsible of both of them. He's kind of like watching out for Betty, so so doesn't do anything stupid. I like them both a lot. They remind me a lot of like a brotherly, sisterly relationship, and I really enjoy that. But I also think they're really funny, so both will be in A tier. They're great. Alma is one of Jill's closest friends. They are pretty close to each other, with Jill even making jokes about her. But like I said earlier, Jill is only doing it because they know each other so well, and Alma doesn't mind it because he does take some jabs at Jill as well. Alma is a very fun character that seems on the outside to just joke around, having fun, but has a lot of stuff to deal with in her own life, especially evolving around her family and a sister. Alma has a sister who is kind of a mess, or not kind of, she is a mess. She married a man early in her adult life and together had kids, but during her years with him he was abusing her and being a general piece of shit. After finally leaving him, she left her kids at her parents' house and then go back to the abusive husband, with him leaving her 4 days later. And she doesn't have a job at all, so yeah, she is useless. And Alma, being tired of her sister just doing shit over and over again and never learning anything, she blows up on her, and now they're kind of like unfriends. So for now she has to focus a lot on trying to help her, cause despite everything, again, she's a sister, it's her family. Alma also is a hacker who has both robot hands because, you know, she doesn't get carpal syndrome, which actually makes a lot of sense. Alma was one that I thought was not gonna like so much, just kind of being mad, but she ended up being one of my favorites. Without a doubt, an S tier character, she's a type of friend everyone needs. Jamie is a really cool character with a very interesting job, to say the least. He kills people. Well, he is a bounty hunter, but only accepts offers if the person who is targeted is a bad person, or at least somewhat deserves it. I really dig Jamie, because despite being a murderer, he is still a pretty sweet guy. Jamie is also a very honest and trustworthy guy, and also reminds me of that one dude from Mortal Kombat I can't remember the name of. I'll definitely put him in A tier. I don't have much more to say about him, but he is a great character in general, so. Now, Virgilio was a very unique character to me. Just by looking at him, you can tell he's different from the others. Being very spiritual and loving ordering drinks in riddles. Like, he doesn't like saying the name of the drinks, but rather just more like being vague about what drink he does want to have. He can seem kind of obnoxious, but I actually really like him. I don't know what it is, but I enjoyed his conversation a lot. You can always tell that he's not meaning to be rude, this is just how he is. Until it's revealed that this was a persona of him and he is actually just a normal guy. He's a cool dude and even apologizes to Jill for being so obnoxious. I was surprised she never lashed out on him. Honestly, I put him in B tier. He's a very enjoyable character and I like the twist. I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah, I don't like this guy at all. I think he's just extremely unlikable.
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't.
I don't have much to say about him other than he's just super negative and annoying. He's not like someone like Donovan, where he's kind of an asshole but still charming. No, he's just obnoxious. The only thing he really got going for was that he's reminding me of a much better character, Kanji, from Persona 4. And I think I'm just gonna end it there. F tier character. Now, Kim works for Donovan's company, but is very tired of working there as well. Pretty understandable so, because with so many deadlines and so little respect she gets from her work, I understand she doesn't want to work there. She's a very nice person, just very exhausted from work. She does want to quit, but she finds it very hard at first because 1, she doesn't know what else she could work at, and 2, she's afraid of what her family would think of it if she quit. She does luckily eventually quit the company, and while at first she might get some second-hand regrets, she starts to realize quitting from the job was the best thing she has ever done. I really like him. She's a pretty charming character and I dig her design. I put her in B tier. Honestly, I'm just gonna say S tier solely because they're Shibas, with one having an eye patch and the other having sunglasses and a Hawaiian shirt. Like, come on, that is peak character design. 4 is Jill's cat. Despite being a normal cat, he can also talk to Jill. After her shifts are done, she has a small conversation with the cat. Now, it could be two things. Either the cat can actually talk to Jill, or she's just crazy and just imagining what he is saying or replying to. He don't have much more personality than that, but I love cats, so I'll put it in the S tier, because why not? Now, Norma is a high school girl who comes into the bar to disappoint her mom. Now, that sounds very weird, but it does make sense why she does it. Being fed up with her mother having such high expectations has caused her a lot of stress with schoolwork and such. So to get back at her mom, she was thinking of doing something so bad that would disappoint her. But luckily Jill is there to tell her how dumb her plan is, and instead she just talk it out with her mother. She does that and come back saying her mother didn't talk to her for a whole 2 days, until her mother realized that her daughter should do what feels the best for her and shouldn't press her or anything. But other than that though, Norma is like an alright character, so she doesn't have much personality outside of that, so I'll put her C tier. Donovan is kind of an asshole, but I also do like him. He's an older guy working as a boss at a newspaper company. He's horny and don't have the same type of morals that a normal person would have. But I mean, he's the boss at a newspaper company, of course he's like this. Like I said earlier, despite him being an asshole and being very rude and crude, I still quite like him. He's pretty charming. I do think he's a very fun character and his conversations are very interesting. I put him in B tier. He's a very solid character. Miek is cute and she is nice, but that's all I kinda have to say about her. She is a pop star that loves her work and that's really about it. She's not super interesting, but I will still move her to B tier because she is still fun to talk to. She's just not the most interesting character in the game. Mario doesn't really appear much in the game, but I think he's likable. He first appears as cool and tough, but then you quickly realize he's not built like that, and rather just a pretty sweet guy. He's just trying to act tough because everyone else who has a motorcycle does act tough like that. He doesn't appear much, but I do enjoy his character. I'll probably put him in B tier. He's alright. Delay is probably the most disappointing character to me because he seems like one character who could be very interesting, but he's honestly just quite boring. Apart from looking a lot like George Costanza from Seinfeld. So I'll probably put him in like a D tier. I just don't really care about him honestly. Now I mentioned earlier that Say was the nicest character in the whole game, but to be honest I think Taylor might take a cake for that because oh my god, she is just extremely sweet and a very interesting one at that. Being one of the few extremely rare brains in a machine in the world, she is a pretty happy person surprisingly. You would think someone in that scenario would have been pretty sad, thinking they went from a full body with legs and arms to just a brain and a robot, but no, she's as happy as ever, and for her it's a huge upgrade. In her old body she could barely move, so this is already a huge step up for her. And again, she is extremely sweet and a very polite person. I also find it very interesting how she doesn't know her gender. When asked why she can't just look up pics of her old body, she refuses. She's afraid of getting into a crisis to see how she looked before, which I can very much understand. It could probably cause her some trauma seeing how she looked before in comparison to now, so I understand she wants to keep that a secret. The only sad thing about Taylor is that she only appears once, but my god, she was so cool! I so wish she came back, but she only came once, and it's so sad. Why couldn't Taylor at least appear 2 times? I'll put it Esther. I thought she was just amazing. I just really wish she just came more. Now I want to tell you something funny. And I saw this one picture of this one guy. I had no clue who he was and I was sure I had never seen him in my playthrough. I tweeted basically saying who the fuck he was and I tagged a mutual on Twitter that is a fan of the game. They then replied on how they said they were the owner of the bar, and that's when I suddenly remembered he did appear in the game, but like for 20 seconds. I had completely forgotten about him and I was just like, wow, this character does nothing. He is so inconsequential that I just didn't care. My brain was just like, oh, we don't care, let's delete him. He's just extreme bland and doesn't do much in first impression. So, you know, D tier. But then there's one character that I really dislike. You would think Ingram would be at the bottom, but I actually think this character is worse. Way worse. So much so that the person goes below F tier. A character so bad and awful to be around with that I'm sure the characters in Dark Souls have a better time there than talking to this person. I'm talking about none other than Streaming Chan. So if you couldn't tell from her name already, she streams a lot. She's in fact always streaming everywhere she goes and annoys everyone around her, and unfortunately Jill is one of those unlucky people. Streaming Chan is just obnoxious. I swear every conversation feels like it takes 10 times longer when she's around. It's just the way she's written in dialogue. It's just not interesting or charming, she's just obnoxious. The only tiny saving grace is that you can click on some of the numbers and can say something funny. That's all. I'll put her at the lowest tier. Completely awful character. But you don't only serve drinks in the bar. Sometimes you will also do activities outside of the bar. Like Jill and Donna hanging out in an apartment and drinking and just chilling. This is probably my favorite interaction in this whole game, and I really love the relationship. Despite Jill calling her boss all the time, she doesn't feel like a boss, but rather like your best friend or therapist. You know, Donna and Jill reminds me a lot of the relationship with Kiryu and his boss in Yakuza 5. They're a supportive kind of boss and not only acts as your boss, but also as your best friend who wants to do the best for you. I hardcore ship Jill and Donna, so to the grave. I really love the relationship and I always love the conversations. Again, I just think they're just such a good couple. There's also multiple times in the game where you get this conversation outside the bar, some other activities, and they're really fun. Another good example of this is like how Jill and Gil will have some conversation outside the bar, and it's also really fun stuff. I also really enjoy that. But Don and Jill like conversations, they're still top tier and they're still like the best couple ever. So now I spent a lot of time talking about these other characters in this game, but let's get back into the main story. Now, fasting forward to chapter 2, there's a girl at some point that shows up at the bar. Jill and Gil thinks it's some random school student who arrived wanting to order, but she says nothing. After a few very long minutes, and I mean like very long uncomfortable minutes, she starts talking and Jill starts to realize who she is. It's the sister of her ex-girlfriend. It's been years since she last saw both of them, so she didn't recognize her at first. And the reason she visited the bar was to tell Jill that her sister, aka Jill's ex, died last week. At first, Jill doesn't believe it and thinks she's just joking, but then the girl gets super angry and says she's not lying and lashes out at Jill, telling her she is the reason her sister died due to the breakup, making her sister sad, which made her heart die. And Jill does not take that slightly and fires back hard, telling her she had no idea her ex had a heart disease and that she had nothing to do with it, and blaming her is just stupid, and the sister gets completely stunned, calls her an idiot, and runs out of the bar. Meanwhile, Jill is left there standing, feeling shitty, absolutely stunned, and just completely awful. Even going home, she has just nothing to say like she usually does. Usually having conversation with Thor and saying something, but now nothing. She's just silent. And getting to work the next day, she's not in the right mind at all. Just can't stop thinking about her ex being dead, which is totally understandable. Gil insists Jill takes the day off, but Donna thinks she is still capable of being here. And the first customer coming in could, well, actually been worse, but definitely not the worst one. None other than Virgilio. And Jill is not having his spiritual nonsense today and tells him to stop being so pretentious and order like a decent person. Surprisingly lash out on him, but she's still clearly in a super bad mood. But Virgilio does actually come up with some actual good advice. Not beating yourself too hard about it. By beating yourself too hard like that, you won't evolve. He understands that in Jill's situation, it's not her fault, despite not knowing what really happened to her and why she's sad. But what he does know is that just feeling sorry for yourself and beating yourself up won't fix anything. It's not a long visit, and after that he leaves. Next person coming into the bar is Sei, and no matter what type of mood Jill is in, she could never be mad at her because Sei is such a sweet roll. And after talking with her, she starts to feel a bit better. Still shitty, but now she can at least laugh, you know. But still, Jill feels bad for Gabby for yelling at her like that and wishes she could apologize to her. And fun enough, Gabby does send a letter to Jill apologizing for everything and saying she shouldn't have blamed her for Leonor's death. She just wanted someone to blame for her death, not realizing how awful and horrible it was to blame it on Jill. So Gabby wants to apologize, and while this is what Jill wants, she gets very nervous. Again, she screamed at her and feel like it's gonna be some awkward tension when she meets her again, but her boss tells Jill that she needs to talk to her, or else Gabby's gonna hate Jill for the rest of her life. So Jill has to suck it up before they meet during the 31st of December, which is basically like the night before New Year's Eve. She even talks to Ami about her situation, and this is actually the first time we ever get to see how Jill looks in the game. game. Anya acting as Jill's bartender was really cute, and it really shows how much she cares about others, with Jill being one of her best friends. I really like the scene. I also really love Jill's sprites. Some of them are absolutely adorable. But now fast forward a bit, we are at Christmas. Woo! Yay! Christmas! Yay! Also, I just want to highlight how insane Jill's rent is. It's like $10,000. That's an absurd amount of dollars. But I guess that's just the average apartment in New York nowadays, so maybe it's not that crazy. With Christmas being soon around the corner, she has to invite people, and while not everyone can, she has Say and Stella, who are hosting their own Christmas party. Jill, Gil, Donna, Rad, Sheba, Dorothy, Amia, and Jamie are coming to the party. At the party, they get to play a bit of Truth or Dare, which is pretty fun, getting to know a bit more about the characters. Apparently Jill is also really good at giving massages. And after the Christmas party, everyone goes home and Jill goes to her cat, preparing for the next days of work before the New Year's Eve, before she has to meet Gabby again. Now that I've come this far into the video, I think it's a good time to start mentioning the soundtrack, because it is amazing. It sets up the atmosphere so perfectly. I have several favorites which I will play for you, but I would highly recommend listening to it for yourself because it is so good. I could list all the tracks in the game because they're all so fantastic. They really add to this atmosphere and make you feel more like you're there. And when it comes to graphics, it's really nice. I mentioned some of the character designs, but in general, they're pretty great, with one or two exceptions. I really dig the pixel art, and the bar looks so cozy too. It really does seem like a place I would love to go to. The use of purple colors, the like the TV in the background, the very smooth fan that I just can't stop staring at. I swear to God, it is so smooth. I don't know why it's so smooth. Really adds to the atmosphere. And the cutscenes looks nice, despite not being that many of them. I do think that a lot of the characters have really good expressions, especially when it comes to like characters like Jill or Dorothy. I really love the expressions.
You might have Flap and the rich lady under your spell, but it's gonna take more than that to impress me.
We're moving forward to New Year's Eve and Jill is nervous about seeing Gabby again. But just like Donna said last time, she needs to talk to Gabby or else she's gonna hate Jill for the rest of her life. Right after, Gabby arrives at the bar, and unlike last time where she just stared at Jill for a very uncomfortable long time without saying anything at all, she starts to apologize to Jill. Jill apologizes back and they start talking more about why Jill and Leonor actually broke up. Leonor and Jill were both excellent students at their own universities, getting top grades and all of that. One day, however, Jill got an offer to work at a place that will make use of what she studied and pay very well. But Jill wasn't sure if she wanted to work there. Sure, it sounded like a very good opportunity, but at the same time, that's not exactly where she wanted to work at. One of Jill's biggest fears is working at a job that she hates during in the 40s, 50s and later on, and being stuck with it and hating every second. It's a very understandable fear that many can relate to, but if it was one person who didn't get that, it was Leonor. Leonor was annoyed and mad that Jill would say no to such a great opportunity, and after having a big fight with Jill stormed out of the house and broke her waist on the way out, and they never saw each other again. Jill moved to the big city to get a break from her studies and just work at a job she could like, and that's how she ended up working as a bartender at Valhalla. Now, the way Leonor died was actually because she had nanomachines in her heart since she was 18, which I assume is the same thing as having cancer. She had been using some pills to linger the pain, but at some point they stopped having an effect and her heart died. Basically, she died. For Gabby, her sister was like her second mother. Not that her father or mother didn't raise her or wasn't there for her at all, but her sister played a bigger part of her life. Gabby is extremely bothered that her sister never told her about her disease, saying how her sister was egotistical and saw her sister as not being helpful or couldn't help her in this situation. Of course, we know that the reason she didn't tell anyone was because she didn't want to startle anyone or make anyone sad about the news. Gabby now feels useless for not being able to have helped her, which is exactly how Jill felt. But Jill comes up with an idea. She suggests that they should make a toast for Leonor's achievements and how of an amazing human being she was. Instead of just focusing on the negative, it's also important to focus on the positives. So Jill and Gabby takes a toast for the amazing memories with Leonor. Gabby thanking Jill and tells her to never ever leave her again and always keep in contact. Because for Gabby, Jill is also her sister. And with that, the rest of the gang is here to celebrate the New Year's as well, with Say and Stella also joining in this time. Jill invites Gabby as well, and Gabby joins, and it freezes and fades to black. And then credits. But we're not actually done yet, there's still some things to go over, like the different endings. 6 different endings actually, depending on how well you serve some customers. So let's go over the endings. Now one ending has to go with Say and Stella to one of Niki's concerts. The second one has Alma, Jill and Gabby at a sleepover annoying Jill. The fourth one has Dorothy telling another one of her weird stories to Jill about a certain character that does actually appear in the game that I haven't talked about yet. With Dorothy, this was one of her closest friends. And this character also had nanomachines in her arm, but she managed to remove it and actually completely get the nanomachines off. But then she got hit by a truck and died as a result. It's pretty sad, but it kind of sounds funny honestly. The fifth one is really interesting. Virgilio opening up a curry stand and it looks super rad. I mean, you have the Virgilio and then the cooler Virgilio. The fifth one has Jill and Donna going on a vacation together, and while I like it, I'm honestly disappointed they didn't end up together. Like, come on man, you could tell they wanna fuck. These are the normal endings you can get there, but there are also some bad endings, or bad endings, quotation marks. One of them is if you can't manage to pay the bills, you get evicted and have to move into Alma's apartment. Now again, it's supposed to be a bad ending quotation marks, but it's not bad at all. Like, if you could get embedded in Alma, I think that's a huge plus in my book. Even Achievement acknowledges how this is not really a bad ending at all. Now there's even more content to go over. By finishing game, you can not only unlock the prologue chapters, but also chapters featuring a character I haven't started talking about yet. So let's start talking about the prologue chapters first. So this takes place the weekend before the main game starts. In the main game they even talked about events that happened during the weekend. During this weekend, Gil is gone doing something mysterious. I assume he's being Batman at Arkham or something like that. So Jill is the only one here alongside Donna. It's gonna be different however due to the bar being rented out to a bunch of dogs. The dogs run a dog toy company and have decided to rent out the entire bar. The same company Betty and Dils work for. This is canonically the first time Jill has met them. We get a wide variety of Shibas in all different colors, even a purple one. Some of them are pretty mean though, like this one green one is like, dude, what the fuck is your problem? These chapters are also very short, they're much shorter than in the main game with no pauses in between. Pretty fun chapters, a very nice bonus. And lastly, we get to finally talk about the last character, being actually one of the most prominent characters in the game. Anna is the most unique character in the game, and by unique I mean dead. And now she's a ghost haunting Jill. Appearing one night where nothing was happening in the bar, Anna is there to save Jill from absolute boredom. During that night, Anna was ordering several drinks and talking a lot to Jill, but it was revealed that after her visit, all the drinks were on the floor. Not only that, but all the drinks were charged on Jill's cards. And from Donna's point of view, it seemed like she was only talking to herself. Now at first it does seem like Jill has schizophrenia, but later on two girls walk into the bar, and I swear I'm not trying to make a bar joke here, and they're dressed up in costumes. By the way, both of these two in detail, we never see them again and they only appear for like 20 seconds, so who cares. But one of the girls does say something interesting. She points out how she can see Anna right behind Jill, which means that not only Jill can see her, but only a select few people can. Anna is a smug and likes to fuck around with Jill for a lack of a better word. Several times she will distract Jill in a conversation with others. I mentioned earlier that Dorothy had a close friend that died from being in a car accident after surviving nanomachines disease, and that was Anna. She was one of the 2% that actually survived from that attack, but then got hit by a truck and then died. Anna is also the only character in the game that knows that she is in the game, breaking the fourth wall many times. But I think my favorite part about her comes at the end, after New Year's where Jill and her have a conversation and ask each other questions. Anna even congratulates Jill on managing to grow as a character and overcome her obstacles. I really loved Anna and she would have been my favorite character if it was not for Dana. I'm sorry Anna, but you can never top the greatest of all time. Anna definitely going to into S tier though. Now, I know I just said that Anna was the last character I didn't talk about, and, well, I was lying. I didn't know there was more until I looked at the achievements again and saw that apparently there were more characters that could appear in the game. These are characters that only appear once, and many, including me, would miss this in the game, so let's just quickly go over them too. Tomcat appears if you serve Alma a flaming Moai at any point before day 16. Tomcat, much like Alma, is a hacker, but she's trying to find out who Alice Rabbit is. That's Alma, by the way. She is, however, not tracking her for anything malicious, but rather just for fun. She is somewhat a fan of Alice Rabbit and her impressive hacking skills. She's also very cool, and I really like the design. Not much more to say, she's a cool character. B tier. Jess appears if you serve a flaming Moai to Stella. Why does these drinks bring random people in the bar? I don't know. But anyways, Jess is a hybrid and has one of the most unique designs in the whole game. And remind me a lot of 2B from Nier Automata. I really like her, but just like Tomcat, you don't get to talk to her too much and it's just a shame. I really want to put her at S tier just for the design alone, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put her in B tier instead. And lastly, we have Lexi. Lexi is Dana's ex-girlfriend. They dated for a few days and, well, it didn't really work out well. She used to work for the police but is now a private investigator and has come all the way from San Francisco to investigate something. I like her. She is like Dana but much more straightforward. But unfortunately, just like Jess and just like Tomcat, she doesn't get that much screen time, so I can't really rate her too high. So I'll put her in B tier as well. And that's pretty much all the characters in Valhalla, and this is the final ranking. A lot of really highs, but some lows, but most characters I did really like or absolutely adored, of course. Now I want to talk about something that's related to Valhalla, but it's a bit before its release. Now back in 2014, Cyberpunk Games had released a demo for Valhalla that was submitted to the Cyberpunk Game Jam. It's a very short game, it only takes like 6 to 8 minutes to beat, but it's also interesting to see how different it was. It has the same characters and mechanics, but to a much simpler and, I'll be honest, much less polished degree. The character designs of Alma and Dorothy look very similar to final release, almost identical, but James, oh, he's very different, and I'm really glad I changed it because this design, it looks ass, man. I don't like it. But the most interesting part about the demo is that you don't play as Jill, but Gil instead. The characters' personalities are identical to the full game, except for Alma, who kinda acts like a bitch here, who I'm also thankful for changed for the better. In the main game, she's awesome, she's sweet, and she's nice, but in the demo, she's so rude and bitchy, and I just really don't like her. I think it's also really cool that this kind of serves as a prequel to Valhalla. It does seem like the place was very different, so maybe this was before Gil started working in Valhalla and he started working somewhere else, because they don't really say the name of the bar. It was really cool to see where it all started, and playing it made me appreciate the full game a lot more. And with that, we are pretty much done with Valhalla. I think it's pretty safe to assume that I really like this game. From the characters to the setting to the music, it was a joy to experience. But what is next for Valhalla now? A potential sequel? Maybe even more plushes? The next project from Cyberpunk Games would actually be Valhalla Kids.
What the fuck?
Well, apparently it's a joke game Cyberpunk Games made as a April's Fools. I mean, I could ignore it, but oh, what the hell. Let's check it out anyways. So let's open up the game. Jesus Christ, that is so loud. Okay, so now that my hearing got mostly destroyed by the music, this music is absolutely amazing. Why is the title screen music for a game so amazing? It's a joke game. It's a fucking April Fool's game. Why? Like, calm down, composer. You're cooking too hard. Well, the game opens up with Dana chilling in a classroom until Stella runs in and tells her to come with her. Both arrive outside the school to where Sei is, where unfortunately her fort has gotten destroyed. Oh my god, how could this be? Being enraged by this, Dana swears to find out who destroyed it.
One day you will have to answer for your actions, and God will not be so merciful.
So the gameplay, while still being a visual novel, it's not the same as Valhalla. Instead, it's much more like Danganronpa, funny enough. You investigate, go to different locations, talk to characters, and so on. So no joke, like this game is actually really cool. Not only are the characters funny and entertaining like in the main game, but the art is also really good. I really like the art style for the portraits, and also the extra cutscenes that appear. They're really nice looking. However, at some point in the game, I could not progress further. Dana eats a kebab and there's basically a note in it that says that I have kidnapped Iris, come to the pier alone, and again just ends there. So I replayed it again and tried to see if anything would change, but nothing would happen. But I wasn't gonna give up. I later found out that Anna had something to do with the game, and later I found out you can find her only at specific times in the game, and by finding all the locations you do get the same ending, but don't you worry, this time you get a reward for it. A reward of a 3D cutscene of a woman holding a gun. This reward kinda sucks. I really expected something more than just that for an ending, but even with that, I still enjoyed it. It's a really cute joke game with very awesome music, like seriously, why is this so good? I really enjoyed my time with it. So now we are pretty much done with all of Valhalla, everything about it. Now with Valhalla being done and with Joke Game being released, what were the next plans for Cyberpunk games? Well, at some point they released a trailer for an upcoming game called Nirvana. It's also a visual novel where you play as a bartender, but this time takes place in another city with a different cast and even a different art style. Some of the shots they showed in the trailer looked like something from a 90s anime. It looked really nice. Man, this game is gonna be fucking awesome. I can't wait for it to release. Oh, they released a trailer in 2018 with no updates. Well, there was actually an update by the head of Cyberpunk Games. It's a bit of a long read, but what it basically comes down to is saying the project was a lot bigger than I had expected, and by that it's gonna take a lot longer to finish it. But well, hopefully that is true, but I'm sure they got something good cooking for us. We just have to wait a little longer. And by that I want to say thank you all for watching this video. It's been the longest video I ever made, and I'm probably gonna make longer videos maybe next year. We will see. But all of you have a fantastic night and a great Christmas. See you around.